Welcome to episode 254. And today's episode came about because Nikki Thompson reached out to me and asked to come on the podcast. After learning more about her background, her journey through fitness, emotional eating, mindset work, and fasting, it felt like a really good fit for you and our Fabulously Keto audience. Nikki brings a thoughtful and balanced approach to fasting. She doesn't see it as a rigid rule or a test of willpower, but as a flexible tool that can support health, self-awareness, and long-term change. In this conversation, we talk about intermittent fasting, longer fast mindset, habits, and why health isn't about aesthetics, numbers, or perfection. It's learning about alignment, values, and learning how to work with your body rather than constantly fighting it. So it feels a great fit for what I do as well. Anyway, here's Nikki's bio. Nikki Thompson has spent over 20 years working in health and fitness with experience spanning personal training, group fitness coaching, health coaching, and gym management. Her journey began when she first was introduced to the gym in her early 20s, sparking a passion for fitness that never left her. Despite outwardly appearing in shape, Nikki's relationship with health was far from balanced. Behind the discipline, calorie tracking, and intense training, she was caught in a cycle of extreme binging, driven by control rather than self-care. No matter how much she knew about nutrition and fitness, lasting change felt out of reach. Everything shifted when Nikki turned her focus to mindset, habit change, and the psychology of behavior. She discovered that willpower is limited and that real transformation comes from self-awareness rather than force. Fasting became a pivotal tool in her own healing. Beyond the physical benefits, it offered clarity, calm, and the space to observe patterns without judgment. This reframing of fasting as a practice of awareness, not punishment, became central to her approach. Nikki is a certified functional nutrition health coach, cognitive behavioral coach, CBT, rational emotive behavioral coach, REBT, and goal success coach. She specializes in helping women step out of the all or nothing cycles and build sustainable health grounded in self-trust, flexibility, and long-term progress. Before we go and hear from Nikki, I'd like to mention my upcoming workshop. If you've been feeling hungry all the time, crashing mid-afternoon, or constantly thinking about food, I have something for you. I'm running a live workshop called How to Stop the Hunger and Tiredness Cycle, where I'll show you what's really going on in your body and how to stabilize your blood sugar so you can feel full, steady, and in control again. It's happening on Thursday, the 12th of February, and it's just £15 or $20. And you can grab your spot at fabulouslyketo.com/workshop. And I'll be putting up regular workshops on that same site, fabulouslyketo.com/workshop. So whether you'd like to join this one or anyone in the future, I'd love to see you there. Welcome, Nikki, to the Fabulously Keto podcast. It's fabulous to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to our discussion.
Yeah, me too. There's a lot there we've got to dig into, so it'll be really interesting. So we always start with, where in the world are you?
I am in Canada, Montreal, Quebec, to be specific, the French-speaking province.
So do you speak French?
Ben oui, I do
Uh,
speak French.
Très bien. That's about my total of.
Oh, toi aussi!
No, my French is very basic.
Okay.
I mean, I did start learning it when I was 5 years old, and I did do it all through school, but yeah, it's not very good. I then went to live in Spain, so now when I try and talk a foreign language, I just talk in Spanish. But I've
Okay,
found in France, it works perfectly well.
there you go.
So, why don't you tell us about your journey and how you came to be a a fasting coach and everything that brought you here, because I'm sure you've got a fabulous story.
Yeah, so let me try to tell this as concisely as possible because I have a tendency to ramble. But I have been in health, fitness, wellness in some capacity for the 20 plus years. And I've done everything from, just working front desk at a gym to personal training, group fitness, which later transitioned into health coaching, which then morphed into a bit of a niche of fasting, being a fasting coach. And how that came about was just me having a passion for health and fitness. And so I just wanted to be in that environment. I left a very nice government job to just be in that gym atmosphere with like-minded people. And I got my personal training certification. And at one point, I was working for a gym as a personal trainer, group fitness. And this was the type of gym that would run, those types of challenges, 6 weeks, melt 50 pounds in this short amount of time. And the way we're doing it is running our clients through this cycle of almost starvation diet calories, hard workouts, intense workouts, and for sure they would see the results short term, but it just simply wasn't sustainable. Once they'd finished the challenge, they would kind of revert right back to old habits, and they would see, they would lose the results, and then they would be right back at our door for the next challenge. So it was like, yeah, a great model to keep clients coming in. But I started to feel guilty in the sense that we're not providing them with the tools to, truly learn new habits and be able to carry it with them for the long term. And to be fair, even as a coach myself, I was in this cycle also. So to the outside world, I'm presenting as this healthy person, and I'm trying to help you reach your goals. And then behind closed doors, I'm having serious binge sessions, like just emotional eating, ups and downs. And when I would, like, let's say, binge eat behind closed doors, then I would feel this sense of guilt and shame, and then return to the gym full force, full steam ahead, putting myself through even more grueling workouts and restricting my eating. And then until I would break, be back in a spiral of binging. And it was just like a never ending cycle. And I was taking clients through this same cycle. So even though outwardly I might have looked in shape and healthy, whatever the case may be, really mentally, inwardly, there was some stuff going on. And that's what caused me to start looking into, why am I this way? Like, why can't I fully just change and be the example, the walking example all the time, instead of continuously falling back into the spiral of emotional eating? And so I just started. First of all, it helped inspire me to do a functional nutrition health coaching certification, starting with wanting to use it on myself and
Hmm.
learn healthier nutrition principles versus just eat low calorie, eat low carb, eat low everything. And then I also started to get into education about mindset and habit change and what it takes to really stick to the healthy habits that we want to incorporate into our lives. And I started to apply what I learned to myself. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was a total game changer. And how it kind of swerved into fasting was, fasting has been a part of my life for quite some time, but I would usually use it reactively. So let's say I just had another binge for who knows how long, and I was feeling sluggish and inflammation and sore joints and maybe put on a little bit of weight and couldn't sleep. I would then sometimes turn to, let's say, a 2, 3, 4 day fast to just kind of reset, so to
Yeah.
speak. And I would always like the results of a fast. It would put me back on track. But it was really just the past couple of years where I started thinking, what if I started using fasting proactively instead of reactively? and more to just maintain a sense of balance and wellness. And that's when intermittent fasting came into play. I just started that, a certain number of hours a day fasting, and it was amazing. I now, instead of, oh, I haven't slept well for 3 months, let me do a 3-day fast to try and get back on track. It was just more consistent energy levels, consistently better sleep, consistently less brain fog. And I was like, I need to bring this into my health coaching. It's just doing so much for me. I don't necessarily um suggest it for every single client. I do not think it's the be all end all. It's simply a tool that has worked for me, and I share it with others that I think it could help for them as well.
Yeah. So, because one of the things you said was about being in the fitness world. So we tend to say health and fitness, but in the fitness world, it's not necessarily around health, is it? It's around, can you do this however many reps or run however far? And it's not necessarily what's good for your health. So I
That
think
is
when
100% right.
when we find people that actually combine the two, that makes a big difference.
Yes, I totally believe in that. And you're so right. The fitness industry right now is really heavily based on aesthetics, numbers, reps, external rewards, whereas living a healthy lifestyle to me is about your internal values. It's about just everyday actions, and it's not really tied to a number on the scale or anything like that. So definitely I saw better results for myself and clients combining the fitness side of things, but really staying grounded in our values as health being a priority for us in our lives.
Yeah. So did you have, other than the binging sessions that you would go into, did you have any other health issues before you changed the way you do everything?
Um, well, it was really because the binging was a symptom. So the other symptoms, so to speak, were more about Um, and this is where fasting really helped me to learn and tap into myself, because you gain a lot of self-awareness when you're in a fasting mode. And so, part of the symptoms was just dealing with my own inner anxieties, my own inner frustrations. Like, I had to figure out, why am I binging? And a lot of it was just maybe feeling inadequate in this world. Like, there's a lot of pressure sometimes, especially when you're in the fitness industry, to live up to some standard. And it's just actually not realistic. And it would sometimes just really mess with my mind and my own sense of worth. And that was really the root cause. And so, not being able to sleep and having moments of binge eating, it really came down to the big symptom, which was my own sense of self-worth and value in this fitness and health space.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So, so you're encouraging people to use fasting as a tool, which I think is
Yes.
brilliant. Do, talk to us about the difference between intermittent fasting being a period of time in a 24-hour day where we don't eat, and a longer fast. So, because you mentioned a couple of times 3-day fasts. So, talk to us about how you see each fits in, not necessarily to you, but to people in general.
So I think intermittent fasting is definitely a great entry into the world of fasting. I mean, fasting itself is generally safe. I'm not saying that if you've never done intermittent fasting, you can't try a 1 day or 2 day or 3 day fast. I'm just saying that it might feel intense if you've never done it before, and I like people to feel successful in whatever they do. So I often just say, try intermittent fasting. And so intermittent fasting is where there's a period of time each day that's decided by yourself to not eat for a certain number of hours. A very popular protocol is 16/8, so 16-hour fasting, and then you have an 8-hour window during your day where you can eat. And I feel like, yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, can I interrupt you there and ask you, for you, do you see that as just water only, or could people include coffee, tea, and then, for example, and then I asked for myself, like my tea with my 3 teaspoons of milk. Would you include that as part of your fasting, or would you say, no, it's got to be black tea?
I would say I like to drink black coffee and tea, but definitely no milk or sugar. So yeah, it would have to be black for it to really, because the whole point of fasting is if you do consume something, it needs to be something that is not going to spike your insulin or raise your blood sugar. And so, yes, I don't water, or a little bit of electrolytes in water is fine as well. Black coffee and black tea, totally fine. I like to drink those when I'm fasting.
Yeah.
So yeah, so whenever I'm doing intermittent fasting, whenever I suggest intermittent fasting to a
We're talking
client, I might not even start
clean.
with 16/8. I might say 12,
Yeah,
starting with
absolutely.
12 hours of fasting is fine. And when you take into account that sleeping hours count, it's really not that bad. It's a very easy way to get into it. And if you're starting to see results, whatever that may be, because everyone's looking for something different when it comes to fasting, what they want to get out of it, then I might say, okay, let's try 13 or 14 hours of fasting, and then the remaining hours, you'll eat. But I also want to stress that more fasting and less eating is not necessarily better. I like longer fasts for that deeper reset, tapping into autophagy even more, because the longer you're fasting, the deeper the autophagy. Um, so if that's your real reason for doing a longer fast, then great. I don't ever suggest, oh, do a 3-day fast when the goal is simply to lose weight. I feel less comfortable with that.
I
Um,
always
I so yeah.
I was going to say, I always find on a 3 day fast, yeah, I'll lose some weight. And then 3 days later, I'm back to where I was. I don't see it as a weight loss thing. I see it as a health um, reset, as you say. I tend to do it over the equinoxes in
Yes.
September and March, those sort of times.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I get that. I don't see it as a weight loss tool.
It's very short term. Like you'll lose some weight, but as we all know, the majority of it is going to be water weight. And depending on what your eating habits are like, once you start back eating, you will definitely gain back the water weight. So exactly. For quick weight loss, no, I never suggest fasting as any type of quick weight loss tool.
Mm. So so when you're working with clients, your goal initially is to get them to intermittent fast because so many people don't. So many people are grazing all day. Um,
Exactly.
so you work up to that, which is exactly what I do with my clients. Um, Once they're in that intermittent fasting cycle, so then doing it easily because it sort of almost becomes a habit, doesn't it? That you just don't eat in those hours. My rhythm tends to be 17/7, something like that. It seems to
Mhm.
be a natural timing for me. Um, at what point do you then suggest that they will try a longer fast?
I would suggest it based on each client's individual's needs and desires. I honestly might not suggest a longer fast unless there's something more that they're looking for. And even if they do, like let's say, I have somebody who just wants to really heal their gut lining. They had a lot of, digestion issues and gut issues. This is an example, and she's already been on intermittent fasting. She's been starting to feel better in her tummy area and just wanted to try something more. This is someone I might say, try 24-hour fast. Like, let's see how that works. Maybe we'll do a 24-hour fast once a week or every second week. If that's tolerated well and you're still feeling good energy, maybe the next month we'll try one 48-hour fast. So even with something like a 3+ day extended fast, I still prefer to ease into it. The time is going to pass anyway, is what I always say. Like, what is the rush, really? And I really see better long-term adherence with slow entry to new habits and new ways of living. So if they've been tolerating 12 hours a day of fasting and we've moved up to 14 and we've moved up to 16 and they really want to get that deep healing that can come from fasting, that's where I'll say, let's throw in a 24-hour and see how it feels. You know what I mean? Next month, we'll try a 48-hour. But then after that, going forward, I'm kind of like you, where I'll suggest keep these longer 2, 3 day fasts for I like to do them at the beginning of new seasons. So that's where I might, suggest that to clients. So again, it's not just about fast more, fast longer, eat less. I never want to give that impression, but there's definitely benefit on a case by case basis, depending on what the client needs or wants. There may be benefit for longer fasts, but even that, ease into it, just ease into it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, because you were talking offline about your eating habits and how you work it out throughout the year. Tell us a bit about that.
So I like to eat in so many different ways. Like my ways of eating are definitely not my identity at all. So I don't really say, oh, I'm keto or paleo or vegan or vegetarian. However, I might use one of those types of eating ways of eating therapeutically. So keto, I will usually go keto either the first 100 days of the year or somewhere, maybe it might be 60, but at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. And that's because that's when I'm going to be going into probably a 3 day fast at the end of it. So keto is a great way, especially, we start the first 100 years. I've done keto. I feel great. I'm starting the year, just finished my 3 day fast. You dive into all these like goals and things you set for yourself for the year. And then you get to the middle of the year and you notice you've been kind of maybe falling off track a bit. I took a vacation here or there. I've been eating, indulging a little bit more. And next thing I start to notice, and this is what's happening right now, like, I'm starting to notice like cravings coming up a little bit more often. And maybe I am snacking a little bit more than usual. And it almost is like clockwork. And now it's falling into September. And this is where it's like, okay, let me get a little bit more into keto again for these last 100 days of the year, right before I'm going to do another fast at the end of it all. And that's because keto helps me to tap back into fat burning, which is great right before you're going to do a longer fast,
Yeah.
because during your fast, you're tapping into your fat stores. You want that to feel easy. You don't want it to feel difficult and like it's a struggle. And I notice that when I'm on keto, I have more, less brain fog. I'm more clear headed. I have more stable energy during the day. And it's a great time for these last 100 days of the year to have all these great benefits from keto to really refocus, get that focus back for the last 100 days and go strong. Like just recommit to anything you might have said at the beginning of the year. Hey, I'm going to work on these things. Then we kind of life happens and we might have fallen off track. Last 100 days, I get back into keto. I recommit to certain goals and ideas I had at the beginning of the year, and I go strong for those last 100 days and ending at the end of the year or beginning of the year with like a 3 day fast. So it's kind of cyclical for me when I use different ways of eating, and that's generally when I'll use keto, more beginning and end of the year. In the middle, though, honestly, it really just depends. There are times where all these different ways of eating are like a tool for me, and I use them based on what is my mood like, what is my energy like, what are my cravings like, and then I might decide to, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go vegetarian for a little bit just to That also helps to clean out my system at times. And I've been doing this for so long that I feel like I can eat a little bit more intuitively. And I've really gotten much better at listening to my body and its true needs. So I eat based on what my needs are. But generally, keto is really those bookends of the year.
Yeah, sounds great. So talk to us a little bit around mindset and fasting because I know my mindset around fasting is not great. Um, and so that causes a struggle within me, but I'm sure there's lots of other people listening that maybe have those same issues. Can you give us maybe some ideas of how we can tune in our minds to work with us rather than against us?
This is a really good question. And I feel like the best way to have a strong mindset during your fasting journey is to reframe fasting. It's going to be very difficult if you're looking at fasting as depriving yourself or like missing out on your favorite foods, because then it's like you're in opposition with yourself. On one hand, you're trying to use fasting as this health tool, but on the other hand, you're kind of hating it because you feel like you're depriving yourself and you're constantly thinking about, oh, when can I eat? And it's not really fun. And that opposition is never going to work. The way to make things flow in life and feel easy is when your thoughts, words, and actions are all in alignment. If one of those two are out of sync, you might be able to make progress for a while, but at some point you're going to snap and you just can't live in those two worlds. So to get everything in alignment, it's okay to acknowledge if something is like challenging at the moment, but reframe it. Instead of being in deprivation mode or restriction mode, say to yourself, I'm in healing mode. Like right now, I'm healing myself. I'm doing this to, learn to understand myself better. I'm doing this to, if you're like one of my clients who's trying to heal her gut, this is good for my gut. Always thinking about the positive and not the lack is what I would say. And like I said, if it's feeling challenging, it's okay to acknowledge that. I'm not at all advocating for toxic positivity here, but this is where we can say, hey, this is challenging right now, but I'm doing this out of self-respect. I'm doing this out of, think of all the good reasons. I'm respecting my body right now. I'm loving my body right now. I'm doing this to heal. And once you kind of repeat those thoughts more and more, it becomes more automatic. And that's where the action starts to feel a bit more effortless. I say it in quotes because, sometimes it doesn't feel effortless, but there's a big difference between feeling like you're struggling and feeling like something's challenging, but this is good for me and I got this. These are two different mindsets. So as long as we can shift into what am I gaining from this? What am I doing for myself? I'm actually loving myself right now. It really changes things and makes the actions that much easier.
Yeah. One of my ones is I'm giving my digestion a rest. I'm allowing it to rest and reset. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I quite
Exactly.
often have to say that, and I do, but I do at the same time struggle with might not be hungry, might not want anything in particular to eat. So it's not a craving thing because I do get cravings, but not regularly. Um, it might be something around, I call it a head hunger. It's not a physical hunger. It's a head hunger of, I want to eat. That is it, that those I want to eat, 4 words. That sort of, that's the thought behind it. And
Yeah.
I know I don't need to eat, and I know I can survive perfectly well without eating. And my blood sugar is stable, so I'm not getting any blood sugar dips or anything like that. It's just I want to eat now.
Yes.
No,
Oh, I relate to that.
that trips me up quite often when I'm fasting.
I
And then
find,
and
yeah.
then your mind can talk you into eating sometimes.
Yes, the mind is a little trickster for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Always trying to. So I relate to that so much. And that is something that I go through as well at times. And it's like, so you have your physical hunger where legitimately you are hungry, it is time to eat. Then you have emotional hunger. And that could be, I'm sad, I want to stuff my face with cake, and it'll comfort me in the moment. And then I feel like there's just habitual hunger, where, and I think that's kind of what you were saying happens to you, where it's just like, ping, there's absolutely no reason. You're actually not hungry. And it's just, I want to eat. It might be a cue because of the time of day. For example, I get that at night.
Yeah,
It's like
definitely.
nighttime, boom, we want to eat. And I'm like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. And so sometimes in that moment, I literally have to talk to myself, like just talk it out. Like, Nikki, what do you want right now? What do you really want right now? What is really going on? And when I just take that moment, it really is just a few seconds of a couple of deep breaths. What do you really want? Is it because you're bored? A lot of times it's like, Nikki, get your butt to bed. Like, what, what are you doing up and just like here feeling snacky? It's 10 p.m. Just go to bed. Um, but yeah, the more you can tune into what am I really missing right now? And if it really is just, I can't figure anything out, I don't feel anything, it really could just be a habit. Sometimes, like if you're used to eating at noon and then you're used to your snack after that in midday and you're used to your snack at night while watching TV, there's a lot of triggers that just bring the habit of eating out. So that's been really interesting. And while fasting, having to like examine each craving that comes up, like what's really happening here, has been so instrumental in being able to then make a choice that actually supports my health and goals. It makes it easier when you actually know what's going on, like what's happening here. I know that something that came out of me analyzing my cravings was when I was fasting and I would be working on my computer, every time I would hit a roadblock in my work, like, oh, I don't know what this is, I'll have to ask someone or reach out, like just something that stops the flow, I would also be like, oh, I want a snack. And I never would have really noticed that connection until I started fasting. Well, it's like the craving comes up, you can't go eat. So the only thing you can do is look at what is this? What is this really? And that's what I started noticing. Wow, every time things get tough at work while I'm working from home, my mind goes to want to snack. And just having that awareness made it so much easier to be like, okay, Nikki, take a couple breaths and get back to it versus just being on autopilot.
Yeah. And I think it was um Dr. Jen Unwin who said recently, and I think it was her that said to me that our brains really only want to work for 20 minutes and then you need a break. But it doesn't mean you need a food break. You just need a break. Stand up, get away, walk, do 2 minutes of something else, and then come back. You don't need to eat.
That's a great tip. Yes, exactly. I take a lot of walks during the day. I even purchased a a desk treadmill.
I have one under my desk.
Yes, I love it. I recommend it to everyone I know that works at a desk. And just even that, walking while working has been a game changer in reducing cravings. So that's another thing I've noticed when I started tuning into what is this craving? What's really going on? What do I really want? Is being seated, being sedentary. That is also a trigger for, I'm feeling a little snacky, even though I'm not really hungry. So definitely take those breaks, get outside, take a little walk while working. It reduces cravings. Like being in movement, it really does help.
Yeah, that's great. Great idea. So, what do you see some of the, because you mainly work with women, don't you?
I
Women
do.
over 40. Not to say that you wouldn't work with a man, I guess. But what do you see some of their biggest mistakes are when so you do Fasting with Nikki is your website. They will assume that it's around fasting if they're coming to you, but even though it might not necessarily be so. What do you think the common mistakes are when people come to you um, looking for some help?
The most of the women who reach out to me are looking for weight loss, which is fine. Um, But I feel like the biggest mistake that I see is putting too much into the external reward. And so now a lot of times they're just focused on reaching this outside goal. And every day that you're not at that goal is actually discouraging. It actually kind of sends cues to your brain of every day, oh, I'm not there yet. Oh, another day. Okay, when? Okay, maybe in 3 months, my goal will have been reached. And it can just start to feel like a lot and heavy and discouraging. So what I always suggest, and interestingly, let me first say, when I ask a lot of these women, what are your top 5 core values in life? A lot of times health is not in that top 5. And so always talk about, you know, when you truly value something, you are more likely to act, to stay in line with those values. Um, and then it turns into winning every day because now if one of my values is health, now I can feel like I won just by, hey, I walked on my treadmill today. I went outside for a little walk. I took the stairs instead of the escalator. I chose water instead of soda. Now it's just like every day you're putting investments into your value towards health. And it kind of snowballs, and eventually it starts to feel like just really good to do small daily actions that support your identity or view or value as a healthy person. And then one of the payoffs over time will generally be weight loss. So it's kind of if you just switch your focus to being a healthy person in small ways, just little ways, they add up over time. And that's exactly what will get you to your goal in the end. So that's one of the mistakes I see, just focusing too much on external instead of the internal reward of just living a healthier lifestyle. The other mistake is trying to do too much too fast. They'll tell me how I've been through so many different regimes and routines, and it's because you went from maybe not having this lifestyle to 4 days a week at the gym, slashing calories, and it's just too much. Your body and nervous system just cannot handle that. And then usually when you do that too much at once, that's where feeling deprived and restricted comes in. So now the actions you're putting in are not even really in line with how you're feeling and thinking in the moment. You're like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm so hungry, and it's not going to work. So I would say those are the top 2 mistakes I see, focusing too much on the external and trying to do too much too soon. And, women are coming to me feeling like they failed because they've tried it so many times and it just hasn't worked. And really, it's just they didn't give their body and minds time to ease into this new lifestyle.
Yeah. And I think both things that you mentioned sort of interlink in the sense that um the where we get the gains and where it makes a difference is that compounding of those small little tasks, and so that they combine in a way, don't they?
Exactly, exactly.
Is there anything else around mindset that we can touch on? Because I know you're very into mindset and how we we need to use our minds, don't we? Rather than let our minds control us, we need to take more control of our minds. Is there anything else that you think would be a good addition to what we've spoken about?
So definitely when it comes to mindset, it's easy to just say, oh, just change your mindset and just start thinking more positively. I know that it's not always that easy. So, one thing I often suggest to clients, and I use myself, I'm actually going to do a reset for myself, is using affirmations if you're not quite there yet to bridge the gap between maybe I'm not feeling super into this right now. Yes, I know I'm doing something that's beneficial to my body, but it still feels difficult and I'm still not really loving it. Set some affirmations that are realistic for you that will bridge the gap. So, um, a great example. like for me, the whole eating thing is a lot easier. So I don't set a lot of affirmations around that. So I'll just give an example that's not related to fasting and food, but you can create one that's related to that. So one of my affirmations that I would use is I choose um I choose positive thoughts. Again, this is not about being toxically positive, but whenever I would just feel those unuseful thoughts, the pattern that just comes into our mind that's not useful, it's a little bit negative even, I can acknowledge it. And the acknowledging is how we make sure we're not just be doing performing toxic positivity like, "Hey, I see you. This is a pattern, but I choose positive thoughts and I will think of something that kind of just brings me a little bit of joy in the moment." And sometimes I would just say that a few times in the morning when I would wake up. I would say it a little bit before bed. And then I would just use it in the moment when negative thoughts would come up. And what is so fun and magical about an affirmation is when you start to actually see it working, and where maybe now a negative thought just even starts to creep, and without any thought, I didn't have to specifically think of my affirmation. It's like it just comes in by itself, and like that positive washes over me, and it just happened naturally, and it was because I practiced this affirmation. And that's what's beautiful. So now, and I would just keep practicing it, and now I'm not saying I never think a negative thought, but definitely things that are not useful that come in, it is like automatic, it's second nature, and it's easy and effortless to just, oh, this is not serving me. It's okay, but I'm going to choose a positive thought. And the reason why this works to bridge the gap is I didn't start an affirmation as I'm always positive, because that's not true, or I only think good things. Like the bridge was I choose, because and that's the thing that makes it real. It doesn't mean I'm always positive. It means that in this moment I have the ability to choose. And so that's another thing I help my clients with, is choosing affirmations that work. Because if it's too out there, even sometimes an affirmation of just, I love myself. If the client isn't feeling there yet, we need to adjust that affirmation. And just like anything else you practice, eventually you will get to, hey, I love myself. But in the moment, maybe right now that affirmation is, every day I'm learning to love myself more. That's something most people can get behind. You're just learning every day. Every day I can choose one great thing that I like about myself. And this starts bridging the gap. So with when it comes to nutrition, it might be just, I do not have to respond to every craving. I can choose, to honor my fasting window right now. You know what I mean? So it's not fasting is awesome. It's very real, it's very concrete. It's like a small step, and as you get better with affirmations, you can upgrade the affirmations. Just like in the gym, you start with 5 pound weights. Over time, you get to 50 pound weights. It's the same thing with the mind. You start small. It's like the formula to success is so similar no matter what you're doing. And it's really start small, start realistic, make sure it's something you can get behind, and practice it.
Yeah, I love affirmations. I use them all the time,
Me too. I
to
love
the
them.
point where I probably use it without even, like you say, without even realizing that I'm doing it.
Yes, and that's what's fun. That's when you've reprogrammed, and it's really nice, where it's not like a struggle that you're trying to push another thought out. It's just like, oh, this is now my natural way of being, and I really love affirmations as well.
Yeah. So one of the things that I've been doing recently, and anyone that follows me, particularly if they get my emails, because I send out an email every day, one of the things that I went I went. Have you heard of BNI, the Business Networking International?
I have not.
It's a networking for businesses to network, and it's a franchise thing, and it's all around the world. And one of the things we do is once a month we can go to what they call Green Club, and there was a speaker there. And so it's usually around positive mindset. So it's a lot of positive stuff around business. And this man said, I always say to everyone, if they say, "How are you?" he will say, "I'm awesome." And this was several months ago where I heard him speak, and I thought, yeah, I need to be using that because we tend to say, "How are you?" And you go, "Oh yeah, I'm okay." And so now I say, "I'm fabulous."
Yeah.
And the knock-on effect, not only on how I feel, I don't remember to do it all the time. We had this conversation at the beginning where I said, yeah, no, I should say I'm fabulous. Um, I don't always remember, but the knock-on effect within myself is one thing, but it affects everyone around me as well because they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's fabulous. How fabulous," and things like that. So don't underestimate how you not only talk to yourself, but talk to other people as well.
Yes, that is a great point. Yes, how you project yourself definitely has an effect on those around you. That's a great point.
And just catch yourself when somebody says, "How are you?" of not giving that rote, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right." We tend to do that, and it's there's no thought behind it. It's just a response.
Yeah.
So just try and think to respond, what's the word? Um, honestly. And it might be you're having a shit awful day and it's not great, and then say that rather than just going, "Yeah, I'm okay."
It's
Which is
so
very
true.
non-committal, isn't it?
I did that with you. You're like, "How are you today?" I'm like, "Oh, well, actually, I was under the weather a couple of days for a few days." But it's true that honesty and really like looking inward, I do think is so much more valuable than just the autopilot. I'm okay. I'm fine. You're so right about that.
Yeah. I went the other day, I said to my sister, she said, "How are you?" And I went, "I'm all right." And she said, "Are you sure?" It's like she was waiting for me to say I'm fabulous. And I'd forgotten.
And sometimes, you know what? Fabulous can just be, I got up this morning, I have my health, I have family, I have friends. So really, it doesn't even have to be like, oh, I'm being fake. We have so much to be grateful for and happy for that technically, probably for most of us, every day we can say, you know what, I'm pretty darn fabulous. Like, most of us, a lot of us, I don't want to say most, but a lot of us have pretty good lives that even if it's a bad day, we're still doing pretty darn good,
Yeah,
right? So,
absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I understand that intermittent fasting just becomes a way of life. So we just do it, and it becomes a way that you don't even really think about it anymore. And in fact, when somebody perhaps so with these networking meetings, they're very early in the morning and we tend to have breakfast. So on that day, I might have breakfast. I haven't for the last several weeks had any breakfast, but we might choose to have breakfast, and that's okay. But it almost becomes, like you say, part of your identity is, "I don't have breakfast." Um, do you see any times when that really becomes a struggle for people and that they struggling to sustain it?
so yes, definitely. And even though I fast most days, I don't necessarily fast every single day. The first thing I love to tell clients is it's not that serious. Like, it's okay if you're really feeling like you need to eat breakfast, then just go do it. But maybe also check in with yourself. Like, it's a great time to build up self-awareness. Is it because you didn't eat enough during your feeding window that now you can't sustain your fasting window? Is it maybe because you didn't sleep enough? Because we definitely, when we're lacking sleep, that can be a catalyst for craving, more sugary or salty, fatty snacks. But just to know why, to understand why. Sometimes it's just hormonal. During certain times in our cycle, we might need more carbs. We might need to not fast. We might need more of that energy during the day. and it's all okay. Like, I just don't really believe there's failing at fasting. It's
Yeah.
just understanding, like, whenever you're unable to fast, take in the data, the info, and see how we can do better the next time. And maybe fasting just isn't for you, and that's also okay, right? So that's one thing I always want to make sure everyone knows. There's no failing at fasting. We're all on our personal journey. It's better to go with how you feel and adjust accordingly.
Mm.
And as long as you're still eating enough of nutrient dense foods, mainly eating whole foods, and you're eating calories enough to sustain your, not just sustain, but thrive, it's not a big deal if you fast or not, right? So it's okay, is what I say. It's not a big deal. I don't want people to turn fasting into their identity is really it. Like I said, it's just a tool. It works for many people, and for others it might not. All of it is okay. Us women especially, we take on so much. We do so much. Like, we don't need one more thing that's just like a chore. I want to help people who are interested in fasting and who we both believe it would benefit them. I want to help them get started in a way that feels easier, to help them adjust when it's time to pivot, to help them learn how to turn inward and really um, be attuned to their own body cues so that when they're not with me, they know how to keep going. They know when, oh, maybe I should eat a little bit more carbs today. And it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm failing because I didn't fast for 16 hours. So yeah, it's not that serious.
Yeah, I think that just comes with time, doesn't it? Where you maybe in the beginning you think you're quite rigid, and then as you get more into it, you become more attuned to what your body needs. So sometimes I might find that at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm ravenously hungry, and it's okay to eat something if I choose to. And I
Exactly.
may choose to and I may not. And sometimes I'll think, oh, I'll wait half an hour and see if I'm still hungry. And then it passes and you carry on. And then other times I will grab a piece of cheese or something to just calm that hunger down. But it's not, yeah, it's like you say, it's not failing. It's just adjusting and listening to your body. And is it really hunger, or is, like you say, is it something didn't sleep didn't sleep well last night is a a great one. You're sure to want something in the morning, or you're sure to
Yeah.
want a higher carb something in the morning because you haven't slept well, and your
Yeah,
cortisol is probably higher, and you insulin and
exactly.
all these things are happening, and you just think, oh yeah, I'm gonna eat, or I'm not gonna eat. Whatever you choose is fine.
Exactly. A great little tip that I like to share also, and you just mentioned it as well, though, is to also create space. One thing is, even if you do feel like you need to eat, maybe like it's just one of those days and you're not going to follow your fasting protocol for today, that's okay. But I always suggest taking a moment. Don't just go from I feel like eating to eating. Take that moment, take 20, 30 minutes before doing, and if you still want to, like we said, it's okay. But it is true that we should, take a moment to just see like what we're really feeling, what we really need. Take those few deep breaths, go inward a little bit, and we may find that in that 15, 20 minutes of not reacting, that the desire has passed. So, yeah,
Take a walk, turn the treadmill on, whatever it is.
exactly.
Do some skipping. Yeah. So,
Exactly.
Nikki, is there anything that we haven't mentioned today that you feel like you really want to tell people?
Oh, well, I want to say to anyone who's interested in potentially starting intermittent fasting, that I actually suggest, this is another time that I prescribe keto, is if you're interested in intermittent fasting, to take a week or two to without fasting or without trying to cut any calories if that was something on the agenda, but to just switch over to whole foods and leaning into a keto, more of a keto diet. So this is a really great prep before starting intermittent fasting. So that's my main tip. Just like do a little detox using a keto diet, and to make sure you have those affirmations set for when you hit obstacles or roadblocks, because you will. I actually like to oversell the you're going to hit obstacles and roadblocks. I like to oversell that you are probably gonna fall off the wagon, as they say, at some point, and that's okay. What's important is knowing knowing that it's going to happen is actually more empowering, and you don't feel as thrown off when it happens, and having some strategies in place for when it does happen is a game changer in terms of being able to sustain and be successful in your fasting journey, versus we start a new routine or regimen, and for some reason we think, oh, this time I'm going to be perfect at it. I'm going to do it forever for life, and this is it, and I feel motivated. And then when we inevitably hit that, oh, I'm losing motivation, or I really don't want to do this anymore type of feeling, it like takes us off guard, and we spiral into all or nothing thinking, and it might cause us to, oh, forget it, I can't do this anymore. And even though we've had this happen to us a million times in our lives, we still keep thinking, this is the time that I'm going to get it right and I'm going to stay motivated forever. But the fact of the matter is, you never sustain on motivation. Motivation, when it's there, roll with it. It's amazing. But understanding that it's not going to be there forever, that you are going to have days where you're not feeling it, you are going to have days where you get off track, is actually more empowering. And what's best is to have strategies and a plan in place for when that inevitability arises.
Yeah. And I think that's part of getting the way away from the dieting mentality, because when we think about diet, I mean, I don't diet, I haven't dieted for maybe 30 years, but it's like that. I have to do it and I have to stick with it. And if I can't do it, then that's it. I give up. And that's part of changing your whole lifestyle and health, is you don't have to do it all the time. Just because you had something that you maybe didn't want to have or is not supportive to your goals doesn't mean it's the end of the road. It just means you get back to it tomorrow or Monday or
Exactly.
next week, whenever you choose. You just make a choice and a decision to get back to it. And it's not that all or nothing, it's just progress.
Exactly. I recently wrote an article. I write articles about health and fasting on LinkedIn, and it was about forget the streak, master the comeback. Because
Yeah.
we love these, like, oh, I'm on a 100-day streak of like not eating sugar or carbs. And I'm like, oh my, whenever I hear something like that, I'm like, well, when it happens, you're going to be devastated, because you're really putting a lot of stock into keeping the streak. But what I like to say is, the streak is great, but we're human. Life happens. So instead, let's focus on how quickly can we come back. And that's going to differ for everyone depending on the circumstances of life. But I think that's a more beneficial use of our energy than to just focus on trying to keep some unsustainable healthy habit streak going.
Yeah. I love that. Forget the streak, master the comeback. Love it.
Yeah.
So, how can people find you, connect with you if they want to work with you? How can they do all that?
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram as Fasting with Nikki, Nicki. I would say Instagram is a little bit more personal. You'll see more life. It's not just health and fasting, but my Fasting with Nikki on Facebook and LinkedIn is more dedicated to health, fasting. You can always reach out to me. Anybody who's seen this podcast, if you have any questions about it, feel free to just shoot me any questions. I love talking about this. It is definitely my passion. I'll answer anything. Even if you're not ready to work with someone right now, I'll answer any questions. But so, Fasting with Nikki, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
And fastingwithnikki.com as your
And
website.
fastingwithnikki.com, of course. Exactly.
Great. Thank you, Nikki. And we always ask you for your 3 top tips. It could be something you've mentioned already or something different. It's up to you.
Three top tips is, and what's weird is I've been hearing on social media that talking about goals is like not as interesting to people anymore. I still use that term, but my three top tips is set a goal, decide on what that is, what you want, your bigger vision that you see for yourself. Once you've decided on that, my second tip is to write down the actions of somebody who write down the actions that that version of you does. So maybe if your goal is to just be healthier in general, sleep better, eat healthier. Well, what does that really look like in terms of actions? So then you kind of have a bank to go to. There's no confusion of what that looks like. So if it's I take walks in the morning. I take walks after dinner. I do some resistance training a couple of days a week. I meditate in the morning. It could be a whole bunch of things, and you do not have to make the whole change at once. In fact, I advise against it, but just try on day to day to do little things from this list of what this version of you looks like. Um, writing it down helps you connect with it more, and just having that in black and white makes things more concrete versus just vague. And day to day, you're not even really sure of what is a healthy person. And that's why we're usually stuck in just, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. Like, let's pull it back. And what does that look like on the day to day? So, deciding what you want for yourself, writing down what that looks like in actions, maybe even creating and three, create affirmations based on those two things to get you through the day, to help you when you hit obstacles or challenges. When you have those affirmations, you know what the actions look like and you know the vision that you're aiming for. It just makes things so much easier.
I love that because they one links into the other.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm going to do that.
These are the type of things I help my clients do. Like, it sounds sometimes like maybe a little bit corny. I've had clients like, "Oh my God, this is so, just it feels odd because they've never done it before." But everyone has always come back and found that it was useful. Like, I want people to connect with themselves, like tune into you, learn you, love you. And sometimes that means just like sitting down and like, what do I want for myself? What do I really want? And then having several actions that are written down that you're committed to, even if it's just, I'm going to drink a liter of water a day, I'm going to walk 5,000 steps a day, writing it down, knowing it, and every day a small thing you can do to like, I'm winning. I did something for me today. I did something to support my values of self-love and health and whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And I think going back to, I mean, you probably do this with your clients as I do with mine, is what do you want is usually quite superficial, and then you have to dig down. So what does that actually look like? And what does that mean to you? Because we all have different wants and
The
goals
why.
and needs. Yeah.
Yes,
Why do
exactly.
you want it? Because, the one thing is to lose 20 pounds, but do you really want to lose 20 pounds? Or do you just want to be able to get down on the floor and get up again? Might be might be the same thing, but it's different, and it has to come intrinsically, so from within yourself, rather than
Exactly.
someone else telling you you need to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki, for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I really enjoyed this conversation with Nikki and her honest, grounded approach to fasting and health. It was interesting to hear how Nikki adjusts her eating regime throughout the year using different approaches at different times rather than sticking rigidly to one way of eating. It was also really good for me to be editing this podcast while I'm in the first day of a longer fast, as much of what Nikki shared resonated with me in the moment. And I'm also this first day of this fast is a dry fast, so no water. So if you want to find out more about that, that's in episode 234 that we did with Maya Sutherland. So I have taken some of her affirmations and I've been using them throughout the day, and I found them really beneficial. And I hope this episode helps you to see fasting less as something you have to be perfect at, and more as a tool that you can adapt, learn from, and learn about yourself, and use it in a way that supports your own health and lifestyle. Disclaimer: the content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only, and is not intended as medical advice. Our guests, whether healthcare professionals or not, are sharing their personal opinions and experiences. This does not establish a doctor-patient relationship. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making changes to your medications, treatment, or lifestyle, particularly if you're on medication or have concerns about your health.